Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday, March 21st of 2025. We are here, but we are all like just barely here. So I'm putting Jessica Renard as I may have to jump off camera several times. And then I'll contribute as much as I can when I can. So, Jessica, you have the floor. And yeah, please understand that we're not 100%, but we're here
Yes.
because we're trying our best to be dedicated people to show up even when we're not 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I know we had kind of talked about an idea that I would like to do, but I almost kind of want to skip it and kind of talk about how to give a little bit when you have very little to give and
Oh,
when to like pick your battles.
oh, that's excellent. Oh,
So
that's
like
excellent.
I feel like because it's very pertinent today in that like this week I sound like a cartoon character. I'm sick. My child is making fun of me. She's like, it sounds like you're like the sweetest mom and you're just trying to be really innocent. I was like, this is literally what I like. I can't change it. This is what is
Right.
coming out of my mouth right now. But like, we also got into a knockdown drag out yesterday morning about a towel. And it's like, where do we pick our arguments? Where do we pick our battles? Where are we going to pick the hill
Mhm.
to die on?
Right.
Because that's a huge part of not only intimacy and relationships, but just everyday things.
Mhm.
And yesterday, I was feeling a little bit better, but my kids actually also been out in the living room for a month. Everybody's gonna be like, well, I'm never gonna come and see you as a therapist. You're clearly like, I don't know what's going on in your house. It's fine. It's whatever.
No, they're gonna love you because they're gonna realize, which I always love about us, is I always wanted us to look real. I always wanted us to be real. I never wanted us to be the therapists that were just like, we're up here and you poor little people are down there and you
Right.
don't have life figured out. I always wanted us to be very much like, we will figure this out together. Like we
That is why I do not use a filter and I have my dryer in the background. Like I try and make it
yeah,
pretty and where there's not like stuff on it.
yes, it looks very
But
nice.
like the washer is next to it and has a whole bunch of crap on it. And so like I try and do a little bit, but like also this is what we got. I don't have a big house. This
Yeah.
is where my office is. So
Yeah.
like real people.
Real
Yeah.
real people doing real things.
Mm-hmm.
So if a real couple, let's say one person is sick and it's already been 2 weeks since they had sex. And
Oh,
so and then they got sick. Like it's just one of those like a series of unfortunate events. Okay, Amanda, I'm gonna throw it to you so you have a voice. All right, what would you advise the couple to do?
Ah, I've talked about this a lot lately with the client and just with friends. Yeah, so and also like I'll share with our group, people watching who don't know me, I am chronically ill, and disabled. So like this is something that comes up a lot, for me and for people I talk to. So what would I recommend for folks? One, like don't like my first instinct, don't count out like intimate time together that, maybe it's you're naked holding each other. Just being in proximity to one another can be so intimate. Um, Even if you're not naked, just spending time together, like doing something that might brighten your days a little bit. Like
Mhm.
if you've both been stuck in bed, or one of you is stuck in bed, move to the couch. Move to your back porch if it's warm enough. Get some fresh air on your face, but do it together. Because I know that for a lot of folks, whether it's the flu and you're stuck in your bedroom for 3 days, or a larger illness, let's say you have a Parkinson's, you have a movement disorder, you're kind of stuck in one place sometimes. You can be very alone. So I say, like, get together and see where that takes you. Like that's what I would recommend first. That's my first
All
recommendation.
right, Jessica.
oh, I just love it because every time we come in here, I'm like, here's the exact opposite advice.
Um,
No, please, let's do it.
No, because
right.
I'm just like, my mom was coming to visit and talk to me this morning, and I was like, I am uncomfortable with how close you are because I am afraid of getting you sick. Like, I don't want to get you
Yeah.
sick. And so being aware of checking in with your person, what feels comfortable for them, what do they need? Like, honestly, I just need to be by myself in my room. I don't feel neglected. I don't feel alone. I need rest. If you could make that happen, I love you. I feel connected to you.
You
We
go
don't need to
away,
be
I'll
in the
go
same room.
connect.
Yeah, like you want to bring me a tea or throw a snack from the other room periodically? We're good. Like treat me like a cave troll. We're fine. Like
I love
so
that,
like
Jessica. I love that because you're right. Like, oh, go ahead, Natalie.
Well, I gotta say, I think so. The commonality of what both of you guys are saying is you got to communicate with your partner.
Mhm.
Like you've got to
Yeah.
communicate. So if you're feeling like, hey, I know you're sick, but we're disconnected, or I know, hey, I'm sick, but I feel disconnected, or hey, I'm sick, and I like this is what we can do to connect more. But having that open conversation and communication is, I think, what the key is. Because
Yeah.
what I find is couples will not talk about things, and then I don't know why human beings are like this, but we will go to like dark, self sabotage, unworthy thoughts and places. And our partner's like, wait, what? I just had a cold. Like, well, I thought you were about to divorce me because you haven't hugged me in 2 weeks. Because I didn't, I had to have flu. Like, and so just that communication of like, what's going on? I'm needing separation. What's going on? I'm needing connection. What's going on with each other? I think will fix so many problems. Okay, Amanda, I think I cut you off. Sorry.
No, I just, yeah, no. Natalie, you're so right with communication. Like, and I'll like name like, my partner and I have really different like love languages when it comes to when we're sick. I want to be like, I want to be pampered, rub my hair, like bring me soup, be with me. But like, I appreciate Jessica, you pointing out, and Natalie, you pointing out also, like, we don't all have the same love language when we're not feeling 100%. And for some people, it's get the F out of my space and like, I'll see you when I'm feeling better. And so communication is so key there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we've all, well, many of us, maybe all of us here, have gone to those dark places of like, oh, they don't care about me. Like, I'm in here sick and they're just living their life. And like,
Right.
necessarily that communicate.
Yeah. And I would like to, I'm going to go deeper on that because couples are just like, we communicate all the time. Like, y'all always in communication. But really, have you sat down and communicated? Okay, what's the best way for me to take care of you when you're sick? Like, what do you need? And then I think I want to go a step deeper and please believe your partner when they say what they need. Like, just believe your partner. Just believe them. Just believe them. And partners, there's a couple of you guys out there who you don't tell the truth. And so I'm going to beg you to tell the truth. And not just try to please your partner. Because then it's just this negative feedback loop of they're getting on your nerves and they feel like they're getting on your nerves because you didn't really tell them that you didn't want to be bothered because you didn't want to hurt their feelings. And now you are bothered and they're feeling that. And it can all go so bad, so wrong, so fast.
Yeah.
And so you got to tell the truth. Like, hey, I love you. I'm in a relationship with you. I want to be in a relationship with you. And when I'm sick, I need you far away from me. Like, I don't need to worry about you or think about you. I just need to concentrate on breathing. And as soon as I can breathe and think coherently, like, I'll be back to connect. And so really being okay saying that. And then when you're a partner, hearing what your partner says. So if they say, hey, I need you to leave me alone, like, leave them alone. If they say, hey, I need you to bring me soup, try to bring them soup. Like do those things. But so oftentimes, we will love people and care for people the way we want to be loved and cared for. And so, so if you want soup or if I want soup, I'm bringing you soup like every hour now, because if I was sick, this is what I'd want. And so just being cognizant of that in the communication. So, okay. All right. Who wants to jump in?
I'll jump in.
Okay.
I think it's also a big part of needs, and needs feel more pertinent and present when you're sick because you can't not need things. You need medicine, you need rest, you need tissues. The needs are much bigger than normal every day. And sometimes when people feel sick, they feel like they're a burden or they can't ask for what they need because I feel guilty for needing these things. You're sick. Like you always have these needs. You're always okay asking for these needs. And it can also be really important to like understand like okay, if we have a conversation and Natalie is like, I want soup, and it's like, okay, I'm a big germaphobe. Maybe I can bring soup to the outside of your door and leave it there,
Mhm.
and then you come later and get the soup because I'm freaked out about getting sick, or maybe I have a chronic illness and getting
Yeah.
sick is hugely debilitating to me, depending on what that looks like. So being aware of like, I hear your need. Here's what I can do, or here's where I can meet you to accommodate that
Ooh,
need.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you're still allowed to have it and be a little upset. Like maybe you're like Amanda, we're like, I want you to feed me the soup. And it's like, no, like, I can't.
I think I'm on that point because I do think, and I've seen couples do it, is they start the conversation, but they're not willing to continue to negotiate. Like there's a like, this is it, or as opposed to, okay, this is what I'm thinking of how I can meet you halfway. And what can you do? And what would be the happy medium for us? And continue the conversation all the way out. And so I don't know what that's called, but I want couples to do more of it, like have the complete full conversation. And I think maybe sometimes feelings get hurt. And so, well, how dare you put my food on the floor?
So it's very interesting. There's a book called It's Not Me, It's You by John Kim and Vanessa Bennett. And they have a whole chapter of swimming past the breakers. And I feel like not only is that something that happens in relationships when shit starts to get real, it starts to get hard, we also have that in conversations where as soon as we're met with any type of resistance or dissonance, it's like, I'm going to stop and I'm just going to let the waves carry me to shore. Versus we've got to get through it and then we're in open water, then we're good.
But we got to make it through it. And learning how to make it through it is a skill that you develop over time with practice.
Yes.
Of like staying calm, staying, not crying, not shutting down, like staying present. And you may, when the emotions are high like that, like you can only practice managing high emotions like when you have high emotions.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like learning to drive. I got to put you in the car. Like there's no learning to drive over here on the side, and then we get in the car and and so being patient with each other. And I'd love for couples to take on the challenge of we're learning how to do this better and different each time. Like to take it on and like, oh, here's another example. We're getting heated. Like how can we stay present? I'm gonna stay here. I'm not gonna shut down. Hey, I need 5 minutes to not shut down. Hey, I am crying, but I'm still present, just the little things. So I love that swimming across the breakers. Yeah. It's Not Me, It's You.
Yes.
That's like an old book. I feel like I remember that from like college.
Well, I mean, the sea is still present.
Wow.
So I don't know.
Wow. I'm just like, I mean, I don't know. You're so young. That's such an old book. It's
Not Me, It's You. I think it's fairly recent. So I don't know.
Like 20, 30 years old. So.
Really?
So it's been a long time. Okay, this is totally relevant to the speech at hand. So I just remember hearing about that book a long time ago. Like, is that the one they made a movie out of?
No, the movie was. It was published in 2022.
2022?
Yeah. So maybe there's another book, but
maybe I'm thinking
I am talking about was published in 2022.
So was that just a popular saying way back then?
Yeah,
maybe.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank y'all for going on a mindless tangent.
Gotta love the ADHD, man. Yeah.
All right.
So
finish it up for today.
So, like, I guess, like, what I'm thinking about over here is, like, what about when couples are sick, though, or one is sick, and they want to, like, they do want to have sex? Like, how do we, is that,
talk about what sex
communicate?
Can look like.
I get, getting back to the communication part. Yeah.
And what does that look like? So, can we have sex and we don't kiss? Can we have sex where we're not in each other's faces? Sex? Can we have,
can I just lay here and you do your thing? Like, is that cool?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
what does that look like?
Mm-hmm. So for a while, I haven't done this in practice in a while, but I don't know why I was doing it. But for a while, a good amount of my couples, we were talking about what does lazy sex look like. Like what, when one person has energy and wants sex, and the other person's like, I don't have it for you. And
Mhm.
so, but I can meet you halfway. I can go along for the ride. Like, so what does lazy sex look like? So I'm gonna say what does lazy sex look like for the purpose of this conversation. Also, like, so what does sick sex look like? Sick sex look like? Yeah, that's what all of the words. Like what are we okay with? And so, if I can breathe, but my stomach is messed up, oral sex might be on the table when it might not normally be on the table. And so, really talking about what is our sexual menu and what could possibly work for where we are today and what do we have going on today.
Yeah.
Because any part of the body actually could be down. I mean, you could have dental surgery and you're down. Like you
Sure.
could like stump your toe or break your toe and your like leg is halfway in a cast and you're down. Like, and so really couples having the ability to talk about and really having a sexual menu to pull from. And so I'd love to challenge couples to do that, to really think about, okay, what all is on our sexual menu? And I'd love for you to probably have this conversation every 5 to 10 years, because what's on your menu when you're 20 is going to be different from what's on your menu when you're 60. So 20, it might be hanging from the chandeliers and athletic sex. And when you're 60, it might be kitchen chair sex because it's really sturdy and it gives us something to hold on to, and we can use
Yeah.
other muscles that work as opposed to things that don't work anymore or don't work as well. Let me say that. And so really having those conversations so that as the menu changes, it's a part of the communication. It's a part of the communication. Not all of a sudden that doesn't work anymore. Well, why didn't it work? Well, I just don't have the muscle strength anymore that I used to, and being open to those things and the changes of life. So I'd love for your sex life to essentially mirror your life and it change along with you and it mature with you as it goes. Okay.
I also want to put in a comment around consent, in that when you are sick and you don't have the energy to fight things, you may say yes to things that you don't actually want to say yes to, or you just don't want to fight about. And so, like, I'm going to not pick a fight with my kid about cleaning the room. I'm not going to pick a fight about this thing. That doesn't mean it's not important. That doesn't mean I don't feel something about it. That means right in this second, I can't fight that battle. And so being aware of checking back in with your person, whether it's your kid, whether it's your partner, whether it's your roommate, of, okay, you said yes to this then. Is it still a yes? Or has that consent changed?
Yeah, that's a great point, Jessica. Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah,
Well,
sorry.
and like you talked about chronic illness, depending on the day, I want to say yes. My body says no.
Yeah.
There's only so much I can do.
Yeah, and it gets back to the importance of communication in those instances, because I think, like, just talking about chronic illness, that I think a lot of people who live with chronic illness, I never say suffer. People who live with chronic illness, like, sometimes it feels like they're talking about their illness all the time. And talking about what they're limited from doing all the time. So I want to encourage people, when they have these consent conversations or sexual menu conversations, and you are chronically ill, remember that these conversations, even though they take energy on the front end, they can pay a lot of dividends on the back end. Like, don't get lulled into, like, we're always talking about this, like, just do whatever, or I'll do whatever you want. Like, it's important, and a partner that cares about you wants to have these conversations too. So yeah, like, it's important to stick with it, keep communicating, and also the partner, I'll say the partners of folks with chronic illness, like, make sure you're doing your part to keep that conversation going too. What is consent? What is on the table? What's not on the table? And being okay with it changing every day.
Absolutely. I had an idea that's kind of a combination of what I had talked to some of my clients about. I talked to some of my clients about prepping things, and they're like, oh, it's like meal prepping for sex. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I love that. You take, when you have the energy, prepare these things to where you have to do less energy when you're drawing from a jar, when you're scratching off of a book or going down a list. Like that has already been created. The energy to go into that has already been created. And then my other thought was, if you're familiar with Goblin Tools, which is an amazing thing, that it's an AI tool that breaks things down, but it also ranks it by chili peppers. And so, like, if things are really hard, they're 5 chili peppers. And if they're not as hard, they're 1 chili pepper. And you may want to do that with your sex life as well. Like, these are some low energy
Wow.
things that, like, are easier. These are some higher energy things that are harder. So, like, where is our energy level? And then we have a different menu of things to choose from depending on how hungry we are, or, you know, like going
I
back to the
love
menu
that.
analogy.
I love that. Like, and setting that up like ahead of time, like
Uh-huh.
saying that, that can make it so putting those processes in place, putting those patterns in place, like so easy to say, like, hey, hun, I think it's like a 1 pepper night, like, and
Right.
being able either with a physical list or you've just talked about it enough, you know what's on the table.
Right.
So, what a great, like, oh, I love that, Jessica. I love
Okay,
it.
go back and tell me meal prepping your sex life. I love that.
So it's what I was talking about is like preparing either scenarios, because like the couple I was working with were kinky, so like preparing scenarios of like, I'm going to use this amount of equipment, my goal is 4 orgasms, whatever, to have like challenges already set up to where I like, oh, if we want to have sex, we have to think of all of these things. Or if we want to do a scene, we have to think of all of these things. But if you curate it ahead of time and you've got a box or a bag or a
Hmm.
jar, whatever, of the things you've already talked about, like using a new sex toy, going to the sex store, having a shower together, taking a bubble bath together, giving each other massages, like all of these ideas are there. They've
Yeah.
been already curated, and all you have to do is just pull one out.
What I love most about that is the intentionality of that, that we're going to intentionally sit down and think about how to make our sex life be what we want it to be.
Mhm.
Like, oh my gosh, how much? That's like all-star information. This is
Also, just to put out there, because I worked with a couple last night, like, we also want to be realistic about who we are as people. Like,
yeah.
I am not going to say that I'm an athlete. Regardless of what I look like, I don't exercise. I don't set aside the time to exercise. I will occasionally get out to walk. So if we have these perceptions that we're just
Right.
like porn stars and we
Yeah.
have sex once a month,
Yeah.
that is not an accurate reality. And that is okay.
Right.
You don't need to be
Mhm.
this person,
Mhm.
but we need to accept, like, okay, I don't prioritize sex as much, and that's okay. We're okay with having sex like once a month.
Okay. What I want to say to that is like a little adjacent. If you have 5 kids under 5, y'all both have full-time jobs. Somebody's training for a marathon and somebody's getting their doctorate. There's not a lot of awake, aware, available time in there for you guys to have sex. We've got to be realistic. So if
Yes.
you're like in the middle of life, like with parents calling you and kids calling you and your boss calling you and employees calling you and the church is calling you and the ball team is calling you and all of these things, I just need you to understand you probably don't have a lot of time for sex. And so you will be a couple that has to get really intentional with how we're going to make this happen. And understanding that it is an important aspect of the relationship and it does still need to happen, that it will help us feel connected even when we haven't seen each other for 2 weeks because we've been ships passing in the night. Like how do we do it? Or what do we need to have that connection so that when our 2 ships pass in the night, we might be able to have sex. But please, 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 please understand just how busy you are in life. And I find that a lot of times people are like, I don't understand why. I can tell you why. Like, write your schedule down. Like, what? Like,
Well, in addition to which, Yeah, I think it's also really important to think about the other things that we have triggered to us that are innate, like eating. I naturally want to eat, but there are commercials. I drive by restaurants. I see other people eating. There are a lot of other outside stimuli to
Yeah.
trigger me wanting to eat food.
Right.
So if you're wanting a more organic, spontaneous, whatever, fill your world with erotic stimuli. Like, go to a sex stores, watch, erotic things, listen to erotic things, buy lingerie. Like, if you saturate your environment, you're going to have those triggers more often versus a mostly puritanical culture creates not a lot of sexual stimuli outside of the environment.
Oh my God, that's so good. That right there is just like brilliant because I don't think people
I'm
think
writing
about
it down
that.
right now.
Yeah, right. Oh, Jessica, you're on fire today.
You really are.
Thank you. See, and this proves that just because you're sick doesn't mean you're dumb. It just means you're sick.
I think that is so good. That is so good. I just want to like revel in how good that is, and how we haven't talked about that more before, and we've got to start talking about that more because you do get cued, and okay, we don't have 3 minutes left, and I can't even go, so I can't. Okay, what do I want to say? This is the other thing. So I want y'all got to be aware because it's a little bit like this. Is most adults, specifically females, I think more females than males, but I know males to do it too. We can be hungry and we won't pay attention to the hunger so that we can get something done.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really does help when we have like dinner commercials, Zaxby's commercial, or something to kind of bring it back up. And they're like, oh yeah, we're hungry. Or we smell food. Oh yeah, I was hungry. Let me get to it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think the same thing happens a lot with people in sex. You have a sex desire and you ignore it because you're busy, because you're with the kids, because you're talking to your mom, because of all of these things. And Jessica's right. Those cues don't naturally come back up. It's not like, while your kids are watching Sesame Street, you're always going to get, a flash of something that's going to remind you, oh yeah, I was feeling that. And so learning how to put things in your environment is huge. Huge. Okay, what's one thing that they could put in their environment that would be?
You could sign up for a newsletter from a sex shop or get on a payment like a sex toy of the month or sex toy of the quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our website has a newsletter. Everybody go to atlantasextherapy.com. We have a newsletter. I hope it's working. So, but it's out there. I haven't checked on it in a while. So we do. So those are things you could.
Podcasts,
books, those apps that maybe you send you an erotic story once a month or something. But oh wow, I love it. So moral of the day is intentionality and communication. It sounds like, and especially when you're not 100%. So, and I think if you are chronically not 100% for whatever reason, you have to be even more intentional. Mm-hmm. And I love meal prepping. I'm going to write a blog on that. Can I have your words?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Because they weren't even mine. It was my clients.
Okay. Thank you, clients. We're going to take that word and write a blog on it. So, if we could break confidentiality, we would attest to you, but we can't. So, sorry. All right, last thoughts.
Communicate.
Okay. Jessica.
Pick your time, pick your battles, understand if you're just not feeling it, maybe now's the time. It's not the biggest thing in the world. You'll have tomorrow. You will feel better. There will be an end. And you can catch up then. Or you can take time and have sex more than once when you're feeling good. I think a lot of people get the scheduling and they're like, well, once a week. If you're feeling frisky, do it more than once a week. You can do it more than the schedule.
Yeah, you can. All right. I think the only thing that's coming is just give yourself grace. Give yourself and your partner grace. So, all right, ladies, y'all have a wonderful time. Guys. All right, bye-bye.
Thanks.